Did you fall in love with potential? See, a lot of times when a person gets involved with a narcissist, they think that they're in love more than anything they've ever experienced before. And oftentimes it feels that amazing. It feels that great because of something called love bombing. Because the narcissist comes into your life and treats you like the queen of the world and then slowly pulls back. Slowly makes changes that start controlling, manipulating, controlling your actions, your thoughts, your attitudes, all this type of things by how they treat you. And over a period of time, you start realizing that the person you fell in love with doesn't really exist anymore. In fact, if you dig deeper in the surface and dig deeper another layer or two, the person you fell in love with actually never existed. That can be a really hard reality, and that can be really frustrating to be able to get to that point and be like, I've wasted all this time, all this energy, all this money on someone that I thought loved me back. And in reality, it gets to the point where you start to realize like they didn't love you, they didn't care, and all they were in it was just for themselves, whether it was the money, whether it was the ease, whether it was the sex, whether it was the convenience, whatever it might be. But it all came back to themselves and them wanting to be number one. And so as a result, you start the slow decline of starting to realize and have the light open up day by day, like moment by moment, till you get to the place that you realize that what you fell in love with was just potential, but it wasn't reality. You see, a narcissist lives in a state of false reality, so much so that the lies that they spread about, the lies that they cast around them, start putting other people in that false reality as well. Starts hiding people in a reality that doesn't exist, where they think this person might actually be the best person for me. They might be the most loving person. They might be the most connected I've ever been to a person. They might be the most adoring person because they shower me with gifts and love and affection. And all of a sudden you wake up one day and that's not there. It doesn't exist anymore. A lot of times that happens over a period of time, slowly but surely, when things get pulled away. So you fall in love with someone that has potential. You fall in love with the person you think is the best person in the world, that loves and adores you better than anybody else. And what you start realizing is they're just fulfilling the list of things that you described at the beginning of the relationship, of what you were looking in a partner, of what you wanted to see in a long-term relationship, of how you wanted a spouse to behave or act. And they start to mirror you, or they start to fulfill or check off all those little boxes along the way, till you get to the place that all of a sudden they're not checking them off anymore. They're really good at doing check boxes. They're really good at checking off a list that you give them of, okay, I'll act like this. Okay, I'll act like this. Okay, I'll act like this. And then all of a sudden one day you start realizing they're not acting like that anymore. They've changed, or at least it appears they've changed. In fact, reality is they never were doing those things. They just had the wool pulled over your eyes over a period of time till they could get what they wanted, so they could keep you longer, etc. And then you start to realize, like, hey, the person I fell in love with doesn't even exist. So when you pull away, when you get to the place where you leave the narcissist, when you block the narcissist, when you move on to the next stage of your life with hope, healing, and growth, you have to look back and almost de-romanticize the moments that you had with them. You have to take the moments and remember, hey, this moment that I have in my mind where he was loving and held me when I was crying, I can't think of that because the reason why I was crying is because he just screamed in my face a moment ago. This moment when we had a great time going out to eat, I can't hold on to that as being a romantic and a good memory, because on the way home, he yelled at me and he called me a bunch of awful names because he assumed that I was sleeping with someone because of a text message I got. The list can go on and on and on. The biggest thing is understanding that you fell in love with potential and you didn't fall in love with reality. And that's not your fault. It's not like you went out looking to fall in love with someone who didn't exist, but you got hoodwinked. You got someone who gaslit you, who manipulated you, who lied to you, who got to the place where they didn't tell you the truth at all about who they were, about the relationships they had in the past, about how many marriages they'd had, or how many people they'd been with, or how many kids that they have. And you find out that almost everything gets to be a lie. And so you get to the place where you've left the narcissist and you have to look back and you have to think through the idea of you're actually mourning the death of someone that never existed. The hard part is while you're mourning the death of someone who never existed, that person is still alive, which makes it very hard to get closure, which makes it very hard to move on, which makes it very hard to break that tie sometimes and be able to continue on with life because that person is still active. Whether that's out there someplace, whether that's in your town, whether it's in your group of friends, whether it's still connected to your family, that person's still there. And that can be really hard to work past and think through and try to get to the place where you're focused on your growth, on your healing, on your self-worth, and you're not looking back at that person. You're not romanticizing that. So remember this, when you fell in love with a narcissist, you didn't fall in love with their personality, you didn't fall in love with their actions, you didn't fall in love with anything except just the facade that they built, the paper mache that they put up that didn't reveal what was actually underneath. And when you look at that and we start seeing, you have to start evaluating what actually happened in the relationship based on the facts. The facts are going to be what is going to set you free of a trauma bond or of abusive relationship or of romanticizing what happened in the past, is looking back and saying, hey, the facts of the relationship were this. They cheated, they lied, they manipulated, they gaslit. What I feel, though, was it was a good relationship when it wasn't bad because they treated me nice, etc. But did they really? No, because we have to look at the facts. We have to understand, hey, this is what affected me. So when you're looking at that, when you're thinking of that, remember you fell in love with potential. You didn't fall in love with someone in a reality sense. My name is Ben Taylor. If you haven't followed me, please subscribe. Follow me here on YouTube. Join me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Would love to be able to hear from you, hear your story. Would love to be able to work with you if that's something that you're interested with. So I do one-on-ones on my website, rawmotivations.com. You can go there, click to sign up for a one-on-one. And I talk to really two different types of people. I talk to narcissists. I mean, yes, I actually talk to narcissists because I am a narcissist, so I understand a lot of times how they think. That's why my coaching, my talking, my interaction on here a lot of times is different than a lot of other people's because I have lived this shit, okay? So I talk to narcissists. I try to get them to stop lying. I try to get them to understand who they are, and I try to bring them along that sense of self-growth and self-awareness to get to a place of healing and helping them change to be a better person. And then I work probably even more so with more people that have suffered from narcissistic abuse and people that are in those relationships, that are in a trauma bond, that are in that abusive cycle that's with a narcissist and doesn't know how to get out or doesn't know how to move on past that. And I work with those people every single day with one-on-ones, with different events, with different coaching aspects and things like that. If that's something you're interested, would love to chat with you more. So go to rawmotivations.com, send me an email at ben@rawmotivations.com or grab a one-on-one. We'd love to talk to you guys more. And don't forget, please subscribe. Thanks.